You breathe in a crowded room, and your body starts making guesses before you do. A stranger coughs behind you. Your throat tightens. Your immune cells begin reading chemical signals you will never feel. Later, you cut your finger on a drawer, and the blood thickens into a seal. You smell spoiled food and pull away before you can explain why. None of this feels ancient. It feels like a normal day. But that normal day is full of old instructions, and some of them are older than our species in its modern form. Your DNA is not just a blueprint for building you. It is a record of encounters, infections, famines, migrations, and disasters that happened so long ago they should feel gone. Except they are not gone. They are still working inside your skin, your lungs, your digestion, your pregnancies, and your immune system. The strange part is that many of these ancient secrets were invisible until scientists learned how to read DNA from bones that had been buried for tens of thousands of years. And when they did, the story of being human stopped looking like a clean family tree. It started looking like a locked room full of strangers who had been living inside us the whole time. Start with one of the most unsettling discoveries. In 2010, a team led by Svante Pääbo published a draft Neanderthal genome built from fragments of ancient bone. For generations, Neanderthals had been treated like a separate experiment, a close cousin that vanished while we continued. But the DNA said something more intimate. Most people with recent ancestry outside sub-Saharan Africa carry about 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. That sounds small, until you remember that it is not sitting in a museum case. It is scattered through living bodies. It is in cells that divide, repair, react, and make proteins. Imagine Western Asia more than 40,000 years ago. A group of Homo sapiens meets another human population adapted to cold, harsh landscapes. Neanderthals are not brutes from a cartoon. They make tools. They control fire. They hunt large animals. Some groups appear to have cared for injured members. And at some point, the boundary between these groups becomes biological. Children are born carrying both histories. Most Neanderthal DNA was gradually removed over time, probably because many inherited combinations were harmful or simply did not fit well. But some pieces stayed. Researchers have linked certain Neanderthal variants to skin, hair, immunity, fat metabolism, and responses to infection. The first secret locked in your DNA is that extinction was not complete. Neanderthals disappeared as a people, but not entirely as ancestry. Then, in a cave in Siberia, the mystery widened. Denisova Cave gave scientists a tiny finger bone from a young girl. It was not a dramatic fossil. It was a fragment. But its DNA belonged to a human group nobody knew existed. They are now called Denisovans, and for a long time they had almost no face, almost no skeleton, almost no archaeology that could be confidently assigned to them. Yet their DNA was hiding in living people, especially in parts of Oceania and Asia. One of the clearest traces may be high on the Tibetan Plateau, where the air is thin enough to punish lowland bodies. Many people who move there struggle because their blood responds to low oxygen in ways that can become dangerous. But Tibetans often carry versions of a gene region called EPAS1 that help the body manage oxygen without overproducing red blood cells. Evidence suggests this useful version came from Denisovan ancestry. Think about what that means. A vanished human group may have helped living humans breathe on the roof of the world, not through a legend, not through a tool, through inherited biology. That is when the old ladder image of evolution starts to break. It was never simply one species replacing another, step by step, toward us. The genome shows something more like a river delta. Groups split, drift apart, meet again, exchange genes, vanish from sight, and still change the future. Your DNA is not a pure line. It is a map of ancient meetings. And some of the oldest material in that map is not human at all. Around 8% of the human genome is made from the remains of ancient viruses. Not viruses you caught last winter, but retroviruses that infected the sperm or eggs of distant ancestors and inserted their genetic code into the family line. If that happened in the right cell, the viral sequence could be passed to children then grandchildren, then millions of descendants. Most of those viral leftovers are broken, like collapsed buildings under a modern city. But evolution is an opportunist. It does not care where a tool came from if the tool works. One famous example is syncytin, a gene involved in the placenta. It helps cells fuse together in a way that allows the developing embryo and mother to exchange nutrients while managing a dangerous biological negotiation. The shocking part is that this cell fusion machinery appears to come from an ancient virus. A virus once used a similar trick to spread. Mammals repurposed it to build part of pregnancy. So one of the most intimate structures in human life carries the signature of an ancient infection. Your body is not a finished machine designed from scratch. It is an old city. Walls become foundations. Invaders become tools. Accidents become architecture. But not every ancient inheritance is useful. Some are old damage that only became dangerous when human life changed. Take vitamin C. Many animals can make it in their own bodies. Humans cannot. Neither can other apes. The reason is a broken gene, often called gulo, in a pathway our distant primate ancestors once used. Millions of years ago, that break probably did not matter much, because those ancestors were eating fruit and leaves rich in vitamin C. The environment paid the bill. But later, when humans crossed oceans on long voyages with preserved food and no fresh produce, the old genetic break became brutal. Scurvy brought swollen gums, weakness, bleeding, and wounds that reopened. A small ancient loss became a life-or-death problem because culture moved faster than the genome. That pattern repeats with food. Milk seems ordinary now. It is in coffee, cereal, school lunches, and supermarket aisles. But for most adult mammals, drinking milk after weaning is biologically strange. The enzyme lactase breaks down milk sugar, and in most humans historically, lactase production fell after childhood. Then herding changed the rules. In parts of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, mutations that kept lactase active became more common. Why? Because milk could mean calories, fat, water, and protein during lean seasons. A cow, goat, sheep, or camel could become a moving food reserve. In those places, culture did not just change what people ate, it changed which genes were favored. The past is not only in ancient bones, it is in breakfast. Even the first bite of starch has history in it. Some people carry more copies of AMY1, a gene that helps produce salivary amylase, the enzyme that begins breaking starch down in your mouth. Populations with long histories of high-starch diets often tend to have more copies. So when rice, bread, cassava, or potatoes start turning sweet as you chew, your mouth may be echoing food patterns shaped by ancestors who learned to survive on roots, grains, and stored harvests. Then, there are the secrets written by catastrophe. In the 14th century, the Black Death tore through Europe, killing an enormous share of the population. Ancient DNA from people buried before, during, and after the plague has allowed researchers to look for genetic changes across that disaster. One study argued that a variant near a gene called UTRAP2 may have helped some immune systems respond to Yersinia pestis, the bacterium behind plague. The details are still being tested, and no single gene explains survival in a pandemic. But the deeper lesson is clear. Epidemics do not only leave graves, they leave selection pressures. And sometimes the defenses that help in one age have costs in another. Some immune-related variants that may improve pathogen defense can also be linked to autoimmune risk, where the body attacks itself. A medieval survival advantage can become a modern inflammatory burden. Your immune system is not just defending you from today, it is carrying memories of wars you never fought. This is where DNA becomes personal in a different way. Ancient DNA labs do not work with perfect skeletons from adventure stories. They often work with powder drilled from teeth or from dense bone near the inner ear, because that part of the skull can protect DNA surprisingly well. From tiny fragments, researchers have reconstructed migrations that left no written record. In Europe, many living people carry ancestry from several deep sources. Hunter-gatherers who lived there after the Ice Age, early farmers who moved from Anatolia, and steppe pastoralists who expanded westward thousands of years later. A person walking through a modern city may carry pieces of forest foragers, village farmers, and grassland herders in the same body, not as neat labels, as mixed inheritance. That matters because ancient DNA keeps destroying the fantasy of pure, isolated peoples. Movement is normal, mixture is normal, replacement, blending, and return happened again and again. Even traits people imagine as timeless can be surprisingly recent. In Europe, very light skin became common through later selection and migration, not simply with the first modern humans who arrived there. Blue eyes may have appeared in some hunter-gatherers before the later combinations people now assume are ancient. The mirror is not showing you a fixed category from the beginning of time. It is showing a temporary arrangement of old experiments, and those experiments are still running. High altitude, malaria resistance, milk digestion, immune response, skin pigmentation, metabolism, and cold adaptation all carry different histories in different places. That is why DNA is powerful and dangerous at the same time. It can reveal hidden kinship, but it can also tempt people into simple stories. The real story refuses to be simple. Genes are not destiny. Ancestry is not character. One gene does not explain one life. Environment, culture, chance, and history keep interrupting. But the secrets are real. Your genome is evidence. Evidence that your body carries solutions to problems you never faced and debts from solutions that once worked. Evidence that ice, fruit, sunlight, smoke, hunger, milk, plague, altitude, and meetings between forgotten human groups all help shape the body you call yours. So return to that crowded room. The cough behind you. The cut on your finger, the milk in your coffee, the stares that make you breathe harder, the sudden disgust at spoiled food. These do not feel like ancient events. They feel like ordinary life. But under the surface, an older world is still active. A broken primate gene remembers fruit forests. A viral relic helps build placentas. Denisovan inheritance whispers in thin mountain air. Neanderthal fragments sit inside immune pathways. Farming decisions reshape digestion. Medieval disease may still cast a shadow over inflammation. The strangest secret locked inside our DNA is not that we are connected to the past. It is that the past never fully ended. It learned how to hide in ordinary life, and every day, without noticing, you live inside the afterimage of everything that survived long enough to become you.